Right now, you reach for a bottle of water without thinking. You step into air conditioning without thinking. Your body has never once had to figure out how to survive without those things. But, for hundreds of thousands of years, that was the entire job. And the place where that job was hardest wasn't a jungle, or a forest, or a coastline. It was the desert. You'd think the desert would have killed early humans off fast. No shade for miles. No rivers, sand that burns through the soles of bare feet by mid-morning. And yet, some of the oldest evidence of modern human behavior comes from exactly these landscapes. Why? Start with the body itself. Your ancestors didn't survive the desert by being strong. They survived it by being smart sweaters. Literally, humans have somewhere between 2 and 4 million sweat glands, more than almost any other mammal on Earth. Most animals pant to cool down. You sweat, and sweating, it turns out, is a far more efficient cooling system, especially in dry heat where moisture evaporates fast off the skin. Anthropologist Daniel Lieberman at Harvard has spent years studying this exact advantage. His research on endurance running shows that early humans could chase prey for hours in blistering heat, not because they were faster than the animals they hunted, but because they didn't have to stop. A gazelle sprints, overheats, and must rest. A human just keeps walking, slowly, patiently, through the worst heat of the day, while everything else hides. This is called persistence hunting, and it sounds almost too simple to work. You don't need a spear that flies fast. You don't need claws. You just need to outlast something smarter than you in every other way. Pick a target, keep it moving. Never let it fully cool down. Eventually, hours later, it collapses from heat stroke. And you didn't. But chasing animals wasn't enough on its own. Water was the real problem. A human can only survive a few days without it, and deserts are designed, almost cruelly, to hide water from anyone who doesn't know where to look. So, early desert dwellers became expert readers of land. They knew which plants stored water in their roots. They knew that certain trees marked underground water tables from a mile away. In parts of the Kalahari, the Sand People, whose ancestral knowledge stretches back tens of thousands of years, still locate water-storing tubers buried under dry, cracked earth that looks completely lifeless to an untrained eye. To them, the desert was never empty. It was a map, written in plants, animal tracks, and the angle of shadows. Here's where it gets stranger. Archaeologist Curtis Marian has spent decades excavating caves along the coast of South Africa, in a region that, during certain ice ages, would have bordered punishing arid land. His findings suggest that, when much of the African interior dried into desert around 195,000 years ago, populations of early humans may have been pushed to the brink of extinction. Some estimates put surviving numbers in the low thousands. The species you belong to may have nearly ended right there, in the sand. The ones who survived weren't necessarily the strongest. They were the ones who adapted their behavior fastest. They moved toward refuges. They learned to extract food from shellfish along coastlines. They began making more complex tools, not because they suddenly got smarter overnight, but because scarcity forced precision. When every calorie matters, you stop wasting effort. You start engineering. Think about what that means. The desert didn't just test humans. It may have shaped what kind of species you became. Pressure, not comfort. Built adaptability. Sleep changed, too. In extreme heat, early humans likely shifted activity to dawn, dusk, and night, resting through the punishing midday sun the way many desert animals still do. Some researchers studying modern hunter-gatherer groups in arid regions, including work led by sleep scientist Jerome Siegel at UCLA, found that traditional desert-dwelling populations often sleep in shorter, more fragmented patterns than people in industrialized societies, and that they wake naturally with temperature shifts rather than alarms. Your modern struggle to sleep through hot summer nights might be an old echo of that same rhythm, just without the survival stakes attached anymore. And then there's salt. You think of salt as a seasoning. In the desert, it was currency. Sweating constantly in dry heat drains the body of sodium fast, and without it, muscles cramp. Focus breaks down and judgment fails at exactly the moment judgment matters most. Communities near salt flats and mineral deposits didn't just survive, they became hubs. Trade routes formed around them. Entire social structures organized themselves around something as small as a white mineral crust on cracked earth. So when you picture early desert humans, don't picture struggle. Picture engineering. Bodies built for slow endurance instead of bursts of speed. Minds built to read invisible water. Behavior built to retreat from heat instead of fighting it. None of it was about brute survival. It was about working with an unforgiving environment instead of against it. And maybe that's the part that should land differently. You still carry every one of those adaptations. The sweat glands, the instinct to seek shade, the craving for salt after exertion, the slight disorientation you feel in extreme heat that nudges you to slow down, rest, conserve. None of that disappeared just because you live somewhere with air conditioning now. So, tonight, when you reach for that bottle of water without thinking twice, remember what it represents. Not convenience. Inheritance. 100,000 years of someone, somewhere, figuring out exactly how to survive a place that should have killed them. And succeeding just well enough for you to exist at all.